All right, everyone, we start off today talking about the illegal surveillance of U.S. citizens through DAS, actually. Link in the description, archived, of course. This will explain sort of what that is. The problem with spying by the government, even where it's legal, is that you end up with usually multiple individuals that are in on whatever conversations are being spied upon. So let's say that the FBI genuinely get a warrant, not a fast-tracked FISA rubber stamp, but a real warrant, and they spy on someone because they have credible information, tips, or whatever, that person is operating a money laundering ring. So they're shuffling money around, they're committing fraud and shit like that, they're embezzling money or something. And they monitor their conversations. They go through their emails, they go through their phone records, etc., etc. Those emails are not one-sided. They involve other individuals. What this particular leaked information suggests, and Wired leaked it originally, so I guess kudos, he did something positive in journalism, actual journalism. I don't see that very often on any mainline site. What's happening is that all of that swept up information is still stored. And that's used as a springboard for both federal, state, and local law enforcement as well to access all of that information without a warrant. So they're looking into your phone records because at one point you talked to somebody who was pertinent to another investigation, even where there was no conviction. It could be an ongoing case, it could be a case that they dropped, whatever it happens to be. You're now a suspect too, as you talked to someone who the government deemed unworthy of the Fourth Amendment applying to them. Effectively, this is basically like, and this is the only report that I'm seeing on it. I'm not seeing a whole lot of reporting on this, which is weird. You remember when the NSA was revealed to have been spying on Americans? You remember when Snowden leaked all of his material to the world and immediately got called, by the way, a Russian asset in so doing? That was very interesting. Weird. Yeah, he threw away his entire wife, his wife too, and his life in Hawaii in order to go live in cold Siberia, and we're supposed to think that he's a traitor for having done so. Self-preservation is a strong urge in human beings. Again, check the link in the description. This is worse than the NSA case. The NSA case, of course, and the leaks exposed the mission creep, really, of the NSA in multiple stages. At first it was, no, we're just going through metadata only on foreign targets. Then it was, yeah, but we might have grabbed metadata from U.S. citizens because, they were talking to one of these foreign targets. Oh, and actually it's the full phone calls, emails, text messages, it's all stored, we've got everything, and it involves literally millions and millions of individuals. If you take that and you add several more layers of pain to it, that's what you get with DAS. Effectively now it's no longer just a few federal bureaus that have access to the information, it's also state and local law enforcement. So your small town sheriff is capable of accessing a database that probably has your phone calls and shit on it. Doesn't need a warrant, by the way, to do so. It's fully searchable to these people. Is Congress going to do anything about this? Because this is a pretty clear-cut violation of multiple elements of the Constitution. It certainly violates the right to privacy. Arguably has a chilling effect and in a roundabout way violates the freedom of expression and speech. Certainly violates the right to due process. No warrants being issued for this information when it's being gone through. Again, to the liberals out there that'll probably be apologistic towards this, do you want some redneck small-town sheriff going through your emails? Because they're probably there. And we're talking about an enormous amount of material, and that is another compounding factor to this story. Do you remember when the former head of the NSA testified that their sweep it all up and then go through it later approach wasn't working because it became impossible to sort it all, and it was like finding a needle in a haystack because they just don't have the manpower to go through, 100 trillion emails? You remember when he testified that before Congress some years ago? Imagine that you have a pile of material that's even larger. And imagine now that effectively rogue actors can go through that at any time they so choose, and they don't even need a warrant. They don't even need to enter in a classified form or something like an NSA agent. I guess your local bailiff is capable of going through this effectively at a whim. There's effectively no control mechanism to prevent the material from being misused. How many instances, therefore, do you have of law enforcement not even establishing a justifiable cause to spy on a person before going through their shit? How many criminal charges potentially could end up in the end expunged, by the way, because no warrant had been issued when they were looking through the material? Are we going to learn about how many instances of that occurred? At the very least, some sort of a digital trail should be there. So, I mean, you could establish it with a good investigation. I think lawyers all around the country should probably be more aware of this story. Because the next time that the cops show up at their client's doorstep at 3 a.m. and knock in the door and drag them off on some charge, you might find out that it was illegal to begin with, that they were even that the cops even were capable of understanding they were committing some sort of crime because their communication shouldn't have been looked through in the first place. You could end up overturning cases that are legit. Imagine you have a situation where somebody has committed some terrible crime. They admitted to their friend that they raped somebody at a party or something. Cops go through the info. They find out this is the case because they were talking to someone else who, was part of this huge dragnet. And they arrest them, and they charge them, and they're convicted because they admitted to a crime. But then the lawyer points out, we have to overturn the verdict because there was never a warrant issued and that information never should have been there in the first place. It doesn't matter if they admitted to the crime if the admission was effectively null and void because the information was protected by the Fourth Amendment. You're going to end up with rapists and child predators and weirdos like that get off the hook potentially because of the very existence of such a program, which will be challenged potentially in a court of law. Now, it's clearly unconstitutional. Your private information could have been swept up because of who you talk to. Again, this is the NSA's program on steroids. The public was all up in arms when that happened. Where's the outrage over DAS? I would think that there should be a little bit more concern. It's no longer just a federal issue. This isn't just a bureau. This is all law enforcement. And so a cop in Hawaii can monitor your communiques simply because you contacted someone in Hawaii. You happen to be living in Wyoming, then they refer that information, that matter, to the Wyoming police, even though you were never properly under surveillance in the first place and no warrant was ever issued to look into your shit. Nobody has any justifiable cause to be going through your garbage, through your dirty laundry, but you end up arrested anyway. I mean, it's helpful in rooting out criminals, but it's also deeply disturbing in relation to the Constitution. It's deeply unlawful, and it's deeply strange that I saw one article about this. Only one person tipped me off to this news. This should be major headline news. I guess between Javier Milei and Gaza and a few other things going on in the world, people just don't have the time to care about the right to privacy. One of the most basic principles of the U.S. Constitution. That's about all. Peace out.